and also a good environment to work for, because I know that that smile that they have on the phone will transfer through to the person on the other end. And so it's very important to look at each individual separately and not try and lump everybody in, and be compassionate and be kind to your employees, because they are the ones that you spend the most of your day with. And if they have concerns, I'm a firm believer that they're the ones that are going to have the answers that are going to carry us forward. And so more than anything, I want them to be comfortable coming forward with any ideas that they have for improvement, for saving money, and be rewarded for anything that they do that deserves merit. And I firmly believe that that's accomplished quite easily if we just apply the golden rule. Just treat everyone the way you want to be treated, and it should work out just fine. And then, of course, that would equate to better service to the public. Thank you.
Well, several times tonight I've already mentioned the fact about keeping the staff happy at the office, and so I continue to take that position. Now, I do agree with Ed that the property appraiser should be the smartest appraiser in the room, and he should be able to answer any questions that the appraisers come up with in any situation. And also, if you as a consumer came in and you had a question about your assessment, I would think that you would want your property appraiser to understand market value and where it came from and how it's derived. Someone who knows about the cost approach, the income approach, and the sales approach that we use. So, and I think that most of the, a lot of the appraisers there, more of them should be state certified. It now takes years to get a state certification as an appraiser. It's not an easy thing to do. And the new law they're getting ready to come out with in a couple of years is you're even going to have a 4-year college degree just to get a residential certification. They already have that for commercial. So I do believe training is important. I trained literally 25 or 30 appraisers in my career, and unfortunately about 8 or 9 of those are now my direct competitors here. So training is very important. Thank you.
Mr. Baker, did you want 30 seconds to respond?
Thank you. In regards to my military service, you know, when I talk about my service, it's not like I'm talking about something I did 20 years ago. It's who I am today. I still serve. I am a military school administrator right now. I was an infantry first sergeant before I got this job. In the military, they teach us about managing people, managing processes. When you talk to any other property appraiser in the state, they'll tell you you don't have to be a property appraiser to be an elected property appraiser. You have to know how to manage people. You have to know how to manage processes. That's why the property appraisers of Volusia County, Orange County, Seminole County, Polk County, Duval, and St. Lucie, those elected property appraisers have endorsed me in this race because they've worked with me. They know that I have the knowledge and skills to move this office forward. Thank you.
Mr. Havill, you'll start with this question. It's a two-part question. First, what do you plan to accomplish as Lake County Property Appraiser by the middle or end of your term so that voters are able to measure your effectiveness, and how should your proficiency be measured?
Thank you. First of all, there's only 2 appraisers sitting here at the table, Walter and myself. Number 2, what do I plan to do? I plan to continue doing what I've been doing, keeping up with technology, keeping your taxes down as much as I can, blowing the whistle on taxing authorities that are spending, wasting your money, and have good assessments. Walter alluded to the fact that the service in our office isn't good. All 3 of these people have alluded to that. I've had thousands of compliments about the people in our office, and I'm really proud of the people who work there. And what I intend to do over the next couple of years is to continue what I've been doing. Again, these people are building a castle out in the sky. I have demonstrated, I have done it. think about the last 35 years. The assessments in this county, the assessment roll every single year has been approved by the state, and I haven't had any errors on it. One of the things that Mr. Baker claims is that we've had a lot of errors last year and all that stuff. I've got a copy of a letter from the Department of Revenue saying, good job, and here's all the zeros for the errors in those categories. Thank you.
Like I said earlier, the second thing that I intend to do is to do a complete process and performance audit and look for deficiencies and then make corrections from there. So you'll know right away, as soon as the audit is over, what the results are. And then from there, what also I want to do is I want to make sure that the property appraiser's office is open for educating anyone who wants to know. I'll be out in the field, going to homeowners associations, wherever I'm invited to go to speak, to let people know about the exemptions that are available to them. Also, I will be working quite closely with legislatures to try and introduce bills to fix some of the flaws that I see in the system. For example, one of the flaws that I'm concerned about is that the seniors, once they have a homestead, have an additional homestead exemption. But the problem with that is that the tax situation is that January 21st is the deadline for getting all of their tax information given to them. They only have 30 days to get their taxes done and get them to the property appraiser's office because that information is due by March the 1st. And going through all of those petitions that I saw, quite a few seniors are losing their exemptions because of that quite small of a time frame. I don't understand why it can't be April the 15th, the same day that the taxes are due. So that would be something that would have to be changed legislatively, and I see a lot of other things that I consider flaws in the system that don't allow people to take advantage of the exemptions that the legislature has directed them that they are able to take.
Well, one of the most noticeable changes that you would see once I take over as property appraiser would be the improvements to the website. The sales search features, some of the other information that can be put on there that would benefit consumers, that would be the most obvious noticeable change. Again, as far as the technology goes, it does need to be upgraded. The aerial photography is good, but there are situations. For instance, I've heard of one situation where they thought an addition had been put onto somebody's house and they reassessed their property because of the assessment, the addition, and it turned out that all it was the position of the airplane, the satellite that day cast a shadow of the roof, and it looked like they put an addition on the house, and it was really just a shadow. So the technology doesn't really work all the time. It's good for some cases. Also, there are some factual errors that need to be corrected. I don't know if it would be better to have these properties remeasured. I'll let the people that own them voluntarily ask for the properties to be remeasured, but if you have a two-story house that's been built in the last few years, chances are your square footage is going to be wrong because the measurements are based on the exterior dimensions as far as property appraiser goes. But when it turns out if you have an open area above a living room or an open area above a foyer, that gets counted in the property appraiser square footage, but it's not there. And when I come along as an appraiser or a realtor comes along and we find out after we've measured it that the square footage is sometimes 400 or 500 square feet wrong, that's one of the things that also needs to be fixed there. Thank you.
Before Mr. Baker gives his 2-minute response to the question, please, do you want to take 30 seconds to respond to Mr. Havill? Because I do want you to answer the question, and it appears you wanted to respond to Mr. Havill.
You know, he's going to attack me all night, and I will just take up a lot of time, so I'm just going to pass.
2 minutes?
On that.
Okay, thank
you. Okay, I'll go to the question, and the question is about how do we measure efficiencies. And I've already answered that in some previous comments. And I guess the two examples is one is right now we have 0% of online property homestead exemption filings. So you can measure me on that. Orange County's at 60. I have to beat 0. I think I can do it. You can measure that. We will measure how many miles are put on these government vehicles. You will see a reduction in miles on the road on those vehicles. In addition to finding that every time you drive by the parking lot, you're going to find less vehicles there. So those are several ways to measure my efficiency when I become your next property appraiser.
Ms. Lee, you're going to start us off with the next question. It's also a two-part question. Where do you turn for wisdom and counsel? And who has inspired you personally and professionally?
Well, actually, there's a lot of sources for me to get my wisdom and inspiration. I'm not going to make any bones about it, that I go to church and I believe in God, and I'm very proud of the state of Florida, because on our state flag we have the Great Seal of Florida, and that Great Seal says, "In God we trust." The reason for the seal, and to begin with, was that the legislature decided that they wanted that to represent government. So one of the things that I want to do is I want to make sure that that flag is in that office, and that no one ever forgets that in God we do trust, even at the government level. As far as inspiration, this past week, there's no greater inspiration for me than Marilyn Boehner. I tell you what, I just get goosebumps thinking about everything that she has accomplished, seemingly all by herself. So whatever magic she has, I hope she shares it with me.
Well, even doing appraisals as long as I have, 27 years, you still run into unusual situations every now and then. And I'm quick to pick up the phone and call other appraisers in the area and ask them, have they run into similar situations, or how would they handle this situation? And it shouldn't be any different at the property appraiser's office. You know, that somebody could come in and kick a few ideas around. And I'll give you a quick example. I was doing a triplex on South Orange Blossom Trail one time. And it was where all the prostitutes and the drug dealers all hung out. And I went back to the office and I went down the hall and asked all the partners, when I worked in Orlando, I said, "What do you think about that? Isn't that terrible?" You know? And some of the responses were, "Well, you know, that's terrible. Nobody want to live there." And other people say, "Well, somebody might pay extra rent for the convenience of all that." So, and as far as what inspires me, I get inspired by successful people and people that have done well, and I would like to mirror the success of successful people. And I also get truly inspired by my grandchildren these days too.
Well, in my life, my first counsel is my wife, and she's the smartest one in the family. She probably ought to be running for this job. And then, of course, inspiration and wisdom through prayer. You know, when you're as big a sinner as I am, you have to do a lot of time in prayer. And the good Lord has blessed me, and I'm very thankful. In regards to the property appraiser, I'm lucky. I'm lucky I know a lot of property appraisers, that I've had a chance to work with them. Morgan Gilreath is considered an expert. He is the expert in the state for the mass appraisal system. He's given me much advice over the years. Bill Donegan, I've worked with closely. Jim Overton, the property appraiser in Duval County. These are all former presidents of the Florida Association of Property Appraisers. These are the leaders of the property appraisers, and they inspire me. They have offered, all of them, have offered their help to assist me in my endeavors to move this office forward. And so I'm just blessed to be surrounded with folks that are just going to help me and help help you in making this property appraiser's office the most efficient and tax conscious office in the state. Thank you.
I think all four of us are Christians. We all attend church, and I believe in reading the Bible and what the Lord says in that book. But as far as that starts out with the wisdom. As far as where do I get the rest of the wisdom? From education. Knowing how to appraise property, how to do it right. And I contact other appraisers, find out if they got a similar problem when we got a weird thing here. For instance, he keeps talking about Orange County, for instance. There was a lawsuit there, and she said, we got too many lawsuits. Bill Downing, the appraiser in Orange County, had a whole lot of agricultural lawsuits, like I did in Lake County. He also spent 4 years, and there was over $1 million fighting that Bible land down there in Orange County. He ended up losing it for 4 years. That's part of the problem. You can sit back and do nothing and let all these people, developers or whoever, walk all over the taxpayers of the county and get their breaks and make you people pay more because you're not standing up and fighting for you people. You don't make baskets unless you take shots at the basket. The other thing, council, Florida statutes. It's very simple. Statute 192 through 200 tells me everything I need to know about the property appraiser's office, administering it, trusts, things like that. Trusts sometimes we get that are that thick, and I've looked at trusts probably from all 50 states around the country. People are trying to get exemptions when they're not entitled to, and you have to know what to look for in those trusts. And there's a lot of other things I've experienced over the years that these people, even a private appraiser, don't get into. But as far as the education, Walter has the education, I've got the education. There's two of us up here who are real property appraisers. Thank you.
Mr. Price, what are some of the perks for the property appraiser and for the employees? Cars, mileage reimbursement, expense accounts, credit cards, cell phones. Would you keep all of them, and are there others?
Well, from what I've heard, that doesn't give anybody any perks in that office. Once again, I would take a look at whatever perks are being offered and see if they're reasonable, see if they need to be continued or discontinued. Like I say, employee morale is important to me, and as far as attending conferences and things, I think that's a good idea. I mean, not to play golf for the whole week, but you know, it's good to let people have a break and go out and go to a conference every now and then. That's fine. It's good for morale. It's good for their well-being. And so I don't, you know, what I change, I have to get in here and see what perks are being offered and if they need to be continued or discontinued.
Thank you. And I don't know of any special perks that are being offered in this office. But I do know that employees want to be respected. They want to be motivated. They want to have a goal. They want to have a sense of accomplishment. And these are the things that I've fought for and that I've used in my leadership skills as a school administrator. These are the techniques that I used to motivate soldiers in times that were dark, when we couldn't offer any perks. I couldn't offer a shower. I couldn't offer electricity. Yet